Hi, welcome to Money Making Conversation. I am your host, Rashawn McDonald. I recognize that we all have different definitions of success. For some, it's a sizable paycheck. Mine is helping people wake up and inspiring them to accomplish their goals and live their very best life. That's it. These are my passions, and that's what I'm going to do for you when you listen to the interviews that I bring on my show, Money Making Conversations. I want you to stop tripping over small challenges, really, and prepare to rise above the bigger obstacles that life will present to you that you know nothing about. So if you're always sitting around worried about the little things, the big things will really be the things that you have not prepared to deliver or overcome. And we're all going to have moments of where we have to overcome something that we didn't prepare for. So Money Making Conversations is about that. My next guest, Rhonesha Howerton, wears several hats in the entrepreneur lifestyle space. She currently serves as owner and CEO of Credit Medics, LLC. She's co-founder of Go Get Crown nonprofit organization for women empowerment and co-owner of Get Well Urgent Care medical facility. Coming from a poverty-stricken neighborhood and having escaped the statistics, Howerton has found her purpose and passion, which is encouraging others and helping them to reach their fullest potential and cheering them on to the finish line. Please welcome to Money Making Conversation, Rhonesha Howerton.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, when I hear the word, thank you for coming on the show, Money Making Conversation. I appreciate all guests who take the time to deliver nuggets, inspirational information, or define information that you can use to make themselves successful. Because I have women dominate my listenership. By 60% of my audience, women. 80% of my audience is under the age of 44. And so that means that they have an entrepreneurial mindset and they want information that will help them win. Why did you, I mentioned 3 organizations in your credit. Let's start out with Credit Medics. In the middle of a pandemic and financial, the average person's financial situation is in disarray. Does Credit Medics help them or can be a role to play to try to get them through these difficult times?
Well, absolutely. Before the pandemic, we have really changed thousands and thousands of our clients' lives just by just educating them on financial literacy. You'll be surprised. I come from, a urban community, and you'd be surprised how many of us are never taught about credit. America is ran on credit. And at these times, you literally can use credit to survive. If you got laid off, if, they cut back on your hours, there are lines of credit that you would have access to. If you were able to qualify for these lines of credit, you could use these lines of credit to survive until your income picks back up. And the banks have given me personally on my personal line, I have $25,000 as the max on my line personally, and I have a few of those. So if I was to fall on hard times, that could carry me until I could figure it out, until I could create another streamline of income, or just to be able to survive. So credit is super duper important to be able to leverage, not just even during these times, to be able to leverage to create generational wealth for you and your children. So it's very important. And Credit Medics has assisted thousands and thousands of clients. I'm talking about home ownership. I'm talking about personal credit. I'm talking about business credit. I'm talking about establishing new businesses. I'm talking about expansion, all of that.
We know. Thank you for the energy and thank you for the points about credit and about your credit score. In your bio, can you, when I read the statement, poverty-stricken neighborhood, what is that type of environment, and how long did you live in that, and how did that motivate you to who you are today, that coming in, being raised in that type of environment?
So honestly, when I say poverty-stricken, I was raised in what we would call the hood. A lot of inner city urban communities are, called the hood. We're living in poverty, very low income, lack of education. Right. A lot of the things that I have seen, I should not have seen as a child, but I never used that as a crutch. I never used that as a source of discouragement for me. I use that as encouragement for me. I use that as an example of I did not want to be like that. And I knew as a child, the fortunate part of my childhood was I was able to travel a lot. And my dad, who raised me, because I was raised in a single parent household, and usually you hear, the mother was a single mom, but it was my dad. Right. And we didn't have a lot of money, but my dad saw the importance of connecting us with people who could offer resources that he could not. So we traveled a lot, and me being able to travel outside of that environment, I was able to see that, hey, life is bigger than this. Life is bigger than living in poverty and being content with being poor and not being able to have access to resources and not being able to live a great life. Growing up, excuse my French, I saw a lot of rich white people on TV. But when I began to travel, I saw that white people weren't the only people that were able to be successful. Black people could be too. So that for me was an eye-opener, and that for me challenged me to think bigger.
You know, first of all, what you're saying is absolutely correct. It's about getting out and seeing a bigger world, because when you read reports, and I've been able to do a lot of social work and a lot of environmental. My minor is in sociology, and a lot of Black people within the inner city. I grew up in the inner city, Fifth Ward, which is Houston, Texas. So I know exactly when you say the hood. I was born and raised in the hood, Fifth Ward, and so the average Black person who lives in the environment don't really get out of that environment. In fact, they live, they work, or if they want to call it work, and they can die in that community and never know there's a downtown, never know there are other layers of life outside. There are movie theaters they can go to, there are restaurants they can participate in, or fine dining and all these things, because of the fact they've never been exposed to that. And I really like when you said that, because a lot of people, they take that for granted who have been exposed. They think that's normal.
Right.
And it's not normal in the inner city. It's not normal at all.
Right. That exposure is so important, you know, because you're only going to go as far as you think you can go or see yourself going. So when you see other people, that's why a lot of people, you know, speak down about social media. But one of the things I like about it is it gives us a lot of access to see a lot of young Black people winning.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's believable. And it's believable. So if you look like me and I look like you, and you're saying, hey, I came from the hood and I see you doing really well. You're running your successful Black-owned business, and you live in a beautiful home, and you're raising your children, you know, with moral values, and you know, to be good, upstanding citizens, and I see you driving nice cars and you're traveling the world. That will be inspiring to me, and most importantly, it would make me realize that I can obtain that too.
And that is so true. I always tell people I love having individuals like you who talk about credit. And I tell people that when I was 18 years old, Ms. Howerton, for some reason, I understood I had to have good credit. I wanted to protect my credit. I wanted credit. When somebody told me the credit establishes a better life for you, I knew that, okay, I'm gonna get good credit. I got my they're closed now. I had my Montgomery Ward's card back then, my Sears card back then. Then I finally upgraded and got my American Express green card.
American Express, that's
green
a big
card.
deal.
That's a big deal now. I would tell you this. That Sears card back in the day was bigger than the American Express back in the day. Because you got your Sears card. Woo! You were the ball right there. So when I got that Sears card, I knew my credit was heading in the right direction. What age were you when you realized the importance of credit?
You want to hear something funny? Mm-hmm. So I told you I was raised by my dad.
Right.
My dad was horrible with bills.
Right.
Horrible. I remember coming home, electric cut off. I'm like, Dad, wait a minute. I flicked the switch. Now we ain't got no electric up in here. Mm-hmm. But it was because he just wasn't conscious of just making payments on time. Mm-hmm. And it was sometimes we didn't have it. And, you know, he did what he had to do to make it work. But then there was times when he did have it and he just would forget. So I didn't learn that from my dad. I remember when I turned 18 and we were graduating high school, and a lot of my friends were going to get store cards because they were so easy to get. Right. So they were getting like Structure and Gap and Express and all these cards. And I remember us going shopping and them just maxing the card out. And I would be very, very, very conscious, like, oh no, I don't want to get too much because I don't want to not be able to afford the payments. So I was already thinking like that. I don't know where it came from, but I was already responsible with my finances at 18. So now when my friends, those accounts went into collection status, I continued to build and I continued to build. And at the age of 21, my dad gifted me a duplex. So I had a duplex at 21 where I lived in one unit and then I rented the other unit out. And then when I moved from there both units were rented out, and it became a source of income for me. But I always looked at finances and money and credit differently, and it wasn't even, I guess it just was self-taught. It was just natural for me. But it was so important to get that at that age.
It really was. I'm talking to Rhonesha Howerton. She's the owner and founder of Credit Medics, LLC, which is a leading national credit and business consulting firm located in Philadelphia, PA. This is one of three companies I'm going to talk to her about. But I wanted to expound on this because like she said, she was doing this before the pandemic. And it wasn't something that she just started last week. And she's been changing lives and improving credit scores and making people understand the value of credit and why credit is so important to you. But we are in the middle of a pandemic and people's credit scores are being damaged. And like you said, your dad, he didn't understand the value of what that meant to his credit score. But it didn't stop him from being successful. It made it just a little bit more harder. How serious should you take your credit scores?
You should take your credit scores very serious. Any credit or any line of credit that you are trying to apply for to get an approval, they are going to review your credit scores. They're going to inquire about you, which is what we call an inquiry. So anytime you apply for a line of credit, whoever that creditor is, they are going to inquire about you. What you need to understand in its simplest form is your credit scores and your credit report is your financial portfolio. Mm-hmm. So that is either going to tell the creditor one, that you are credit worthy and trustworthy enough for me to go ahead and lend you this credit based off of your existing payment history. So if you already have debt, and what do we call debt? Your car note. Okay, if you have a car note, if you have student loan debt, if you have a mortgage, if you have personal loans, whatever the case may be, if you have credit cards, if you are currently late on your existing debt and a creditor goes to pull your credit and they see that, why would they want to lend you new debt? They will not. So it's so important because that's going to determine if you get approved or not based off of your existing payment history. And the other thing would be your credit utilization, which pertains to revolving credit. So, you mentioned early Sears card. So Sears card would be considered as a revolving credit card. It's a retail card. Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Walmart, Target, those are considered as revolving retail store cards. And then you have your major credit cards, American Express, MasterCard, Visa, Discover, which is another form of revolving credit. You don't want to have large balances on these credit cards. You should only be using 30% at max of your credit limit.
That's true.
When you exceed that 30%, you're going to see a drastic decline in your scores. So that's another thing that lenders look at to determine if they feel like they can trust you. So just imagine if you have a friend, okay, or let's say Rashawn. I said that correctly?
Rashawn.
Mm-hmm. Rashawn, if you lent me money, right? You say, okay, I come to you, I say, Rashawn, can I borrow, $100 until next month and I'm going to pay you back? And you say, you know what, Rhonesha, sure, I'm going to give it to you. So then I borrow the money from you. Next month comes, you don't hear from me, right? So then another month goes by, you don't hear from me. So now you start to get worried. You say, listen, I done gave Rhonesha money off of good faith, and she's supposed to give me my money back. So now our friend Sean, who is also, a mutual friend, I go to him and I say, Sean, can I borrow $100 till next month? And Sean is like, you know what? I remember Rashawn telling me that Rhonesha borrowed money. Let me go ask him. And Sean comes and asks you, hey, Rhonesha ever pay you money? You say, man, don't you lend Rhonesha no money? I've been waiting 3 months. I ain't got a dime yet. So that's the same way that a lender looks at your payment habits and your utilization habits to determine if they're more likely to get paid back or less likely.
Well, I love it because that is straight street talk right there. That's street talk 101. That's street talk 101 right there. And don't show up. Yeah. And don't show up. And Rhonesha got some new shoes on. Don't show up. And she over there. She over there in a fine restaurant. She in a fine restaurant eating some seafood. And owe me money. Come on now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Rhonesha got some shrimp on your plate. A pile of shrimp, and you owe me $100. Don't do that to me. Because I love that you went. I would love that you went natural. That's why you're so successful. Because sometimes you got to talk to people in a natural form so they can understand.
And then you have to speak their language, and that's what I do. I speak the language of my people. Yes. and break it down as simple as I can.
Well, okay. Now, right now, our people, they're struggling during this pandemic, and the credit scores are being damaged, and we all know when you hear that word 30%, and sometimes I suggest people take a cash advance and use part of that cash advance to make your minimum monthly payments, so your credit score won't go messed up. Because I tell people, put yourself on automatic payment on the minimum amount. Okay.
Yeah.
And that way you use part of that advance that you took, set it aside so you can make those minimum month payments during this pandemic run. That way your credit scores, like I 100% agree with you. You cannot allow your credit score to get damaged. It get damaged, you just defaulted into a worse situation for yourself. But how can these people survive? And when I say there's people of color, minorities, people who are already struggling, and first of all, they gave us the $1,200 stimulus check, and then they gave us a $600 weekly check that ended July 31st, and now they told us that the CDC can suspend evictions, but then at the end of the year you owe that money for the rent you didn't pay. How can we get around?
So now imagine that. Imagine getting caught up after you already behind,
right? And
you don't have no income. Now, how crazy is that? And but I agree with what you said. That cash advance, but once again, that goes back to, see, here's the thing. I tell people to already be prepared. One of the things that I have been blessed and fortunate to do is to always stay prepared financially, because even when things are good, I still don't go crazy. I have very great discipline with my finances. So although I would be, what you would call, I'm successful and I have money, I still don't spend like I have money. I don't. And I'm realizing that as I begin to hang around people who have their finances are stable, I'm realizing that a lot of them don't make unnecessary purchases. So you have to be prepared. But now we're in a situation. So a lot of people, and I know some of my associates, that have taken that $1,200 and just blew it. They have taken the unemployment checks. And I know people who have gotten $10,000 and $20,000. And I'm like, you got that much? I'm like, what are you going to do with it? And it's gone already.
Yes.
But that could have helped them over just by making the minimum payment. It will hold you over so that you won't have any late payments reporting that will decline your score. Your scores will drop anywhere between 30 to 70 points from one late payment.
Wow. And can you tell them how those scores are reported? Not trying to complicate the conversation, but people need to know that, electronically in that world, then people track you. They track you and they track your buying habits. It always amazes me, Rhonesha, when I put my credit card in, and I mean like seconds, not even seconds later, it says approved. Even today, that boggles me, God. The amount of computer force that's tied to that is incredible. Because I know at the simultaneously, I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people are pushing their card in that same type of machine, a card reader, and simultaneously, and it's hitting the word approved immediately or rejection, depending on where you're at.
It's data. All it is data. And it's like you said, it's tracking. They're tracking your payments. They're tracking your utilization. They're tracking even down to where you live at. Anytime you put on an application, I don't know if people are aware of when you pull your credit, every address that you have lived at that you use to apply for something shows up on your credit report. So it's definitely a tracking system. But the credit bureaus are nothing but data companies, a billion-dollar industry. They get paid to collect data,
right, to
report your behalf, to then sell to the bigger banks and financial institutions. That's all it is.
Now, one of your favorite, I could say, nonprofits that you are tied to or associated with or created is called Go Get Crowned. Tell us about why you start that. And now I have my points about.
So actually, it's queening now. I changed it to queening.
Okay.
And I do a mentorship program for young girls between the ages of 14 and 21.
It's called Queening, right? Queening, right?
Queening, yes. Okay, and I also wrote a book called Queening on Amazon.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
So Queening is a nonprofit organization for young Black women, okay, from the ages of 14 to 21. And it's basically me giving them all of the life skills that I have acquired over the years. I'm talking about, teaching them how to see money as a tool and not as just this tangible thing to just spend. Teaching them how to invest. I'm also a real estate investor, and I have several female friends that are real estate investors. I bring them in to talk to my girls so that they can see other young Black successful women or minority women who, because we have some Latinos also, who look like them and come from communities where they come from so they can see the example. I also bring in my other entrepreneur friends from different industries. So some of my girls in the start of the program will ask them, you know, what interests you? Do you have an idea of where you want your life to go or where you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15 years? So whatever that industry is that they choose, I try to get somebody to come in from that industry to talk about their experience, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, and then also ask them if they would mind mentoring my girls based off of the industry that they choose. Because I feel that that's super important too, to have a mentor. A lot of things could be prevented, a lot of trial and error, if you have a mentor who can help you and assist you that you have access to along your journey. I feel like that's very important. So we teach home ownership. We talk about, you know, self-esteem. We talk about African culture and the beauty of being African and celebrating our features and celebrating our culture. We talk about money management. We talk about investing. We talk about all different types of life things that could actually enrich in, you know, their lives.
I'm telling you, Rhonesha, you're one of my favorite people. I'm gonna tell you, you know, we didn't connect originally on our original set time. I went, maybe she don't want to talk to me. Maybe she don't want to talk to Rhonesha McDonald and Money Maker. No, you got it going on, Queenie. Come on now. You know, I'm talking about Rhonesha Howerton. Okay, we've already talked about, you know, one of the businesses, which is a CEO. She's a CEO, founder of Credit Medics. Now, the nonprofit, which is mentoring. The reason I say you're one of my favorite people, because that's why I established Money Making Conversation for mentoring. Because I can't mentor a lot of people. People are always approaching me. So I just said, I'll mentor you by providing you with free information, because that's what happens. You can I upload these interviews on my YouTube channel for free, upload on my website for free. All people have to do is just search, and you can hear an incredible person like you telling them why they have to protect their credit, tell them how they can protect themselves. And also the other side of the table, they can find out about you and go to you and take advantage of your services, take advantage of how you're trying to change lives with this mentorship program, and letting people know the empowerment of looking in the mirror and recognizing that their face that they see, their color that they see, can be successful, is beautiful, is worth standing strong. Don't let the negative pull you down. And that's what you were saying with the Queening program, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I love the interaction with these young women. Mm-hmm. And then so it's so crazy, because the mentorship that I did 3 years ago, the girls in that class, 2 of them I have hired and they work for me. And just to see the progress and the confidence and the self-esteem by itself touches my heart. It touches my heart. And just to have them up under me, one of my mentees came to me. She said, Miss Niche, I'm ready to buy a duplex. I said, whatever I got to do to make it happen for you, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's inspiring to think. And, you know, she could say, hey, Miss Niche, I want to go buy a Chanel bag. But she said, Miss Niche, I want to get a duplex. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's touching to me.
Yeah, I see you. I see you online here with you putting that crown on your head. You know, you got your little black eye. I'm checking you out. You know, Miss Credit Medics. You know, you're looking good, there, girl. The Queening. I like that new title. Anyway, Queening. But before we wrap up, Queening. I want to talk about the Get Well Urgent Care, which is like a medical facility. Is that part of the franchises, or is this an individual location that you are?
So actually, that was just an investment that came up. Somebody asked me, would I be interested in investing in an urgent care clinic? And at the time, I didn't know anything about it. Right. I honestly did not. Mm-hmm. I started to do my own research. And of course, with any type of investment, it's risky. You know, mm-hmm. I always tell people, don't, invest money that you're expecting to get back. It's really a risk. Real estate the risk is, less. But in any investment, it's going to be risky. So I didn't know anything about it at the time. And I just felt like, hey, let me just shoot my shot. And I did it. And it was one of my friends, her husband was actually a doctor. And he was, even as a doctor, you're still an employee. And he was working for, I think it was Piedmont Medical Facility. And what he did was he decided that, he didn't want to be an employee anymore. He said, I'm overseeing 5 of these urgent care clinics and I'm seeing these invoices. And I'm like, man, if they say no, he woke up. He was broke at that point.
Okay. He's looking at his check. That's what. Come on, let's slow it down. He's looking at his check.
He's looking at these invoices.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you something. Let's break it down even more. He's looking at these white folks running around here. Okay, making all this good money.
He said, oh, they making this. Oh, wait, hold on. They making this. And wait a minute, and I'm making this.
Right.
So he started, scratching his head and said, wait a minute. So he decided that he wanted to do his own urgent care, and he was looking for investors. And his wife was a friend of mine, and she, brought the opportunity to me. She said, would you be willing to invest? I did my research, and I just went ahead and just, took the risk. And I did.
And some of it's on faith too, because you can do all the research you want, but some of it, like I said, you got to come on. You have to sit down and go, 2 + 2 is 4. Now, when I'm talking about this is when you say let's talk about get well urgent care. First of all, it's medical, and we all know, okay, people gonna die, people gonna get sick. Okay, that's the fact of life. Okay, now
that's the fact of life.
And so with that, so the investment possibility is like, okay, where are they putting it at? That's all you have to worry about. Who's running it,
right,
and where are they going to put it at? Because I've seen these urgent cares, and they always got cars parked out in front of them. Okay, and that means that people need that service. And so from a standpoint of your research, like you said, you're riding on the statement that I just said. People are going to die, and people are going to get sick. Okay, so with that being said, how do you participate? Do you go by your facility? You're an investor. Do you check on it? Do you have board meetings? How do you do?
I sit on the board, and I'm really just a silent investor.
Yes, ma'am.
So of course I get quarterly checks based off of my percentage of equity in the company.
Right. Now, with that being said, or do we see more franchises that you'll be associated with, or are you saying, Rashawn, we're going to see how this plays out for the next 1 or 2 years?
Actually, I'm probably not going to do any more business with him. But
I love it.
And I'm going to leave that
right there. See, did I tell you I like Miss Howerton? Did I tell you she's one of my top people now? Because see, I'm telling you something. You cannot win being fake. You can win short term.
I'm going to say that right there. Right. I'm leave that there.
Right.
But what I am working on is franchising my $1 million business, Credit Medics.
Cool.
That's what I'm doing.
Cool.
I'm in the process of doing that right now, trying to create a software to make it very, very, very manageable and very easy to navigate through and all of that kind of stuff. So that's the only piece that's missing to Credit Medics, and then I will franchise my business.
Well, my friend, I want to let you know, I got a newsletter that goes out to my fans, 90+ thousand fans every 2 weeks. I want to put your Credit Medics in there because, like I said, you move to the top of the food chain with me because you keep it real.
Thank you,
because see, the reason I say that is that we have a lot of relatable values. I come from the inner city, and I realized that when I was exposed to information outside of the inner city, I am the person I am today. So I'm always a proponent. And also I give back. I give back in so many different ways. And like I said, Money Making Conversation is just one of the format, but I work with HBCU platforms to do information and exposure at such a high level. And so all I know is that you have a friend in Rhonesha McDonald. I'm so glad we was able to pull off this interview. And more importantly, your nonprofit organization is beautiful. I'm going to promote that. You look fantastic on social media. With your all black on, with the crown on, tilting it to the left, doing your thing. And so how can we reach out to you? Tell us, Miss Rhonesha.
So you can actually go to my website and you will see we have so many different services available, from first-time home ownership to building business credit, business consulting if you're a business owner already. I feel like in our community, and I just moved into a bigger, phenomenal location. My office is beautiful, and there's enough space for me to actually have, it's like a conference area, a seminar, if we can have seminars. Right. So I'm going to be offering monthly free workshops to existing business owners, Black small business owners, because I feel like that's a piece that's missing. You can be really skilled at whatever it is that you do and talented, but if you don't know the business side of it, your business will suffer. So we're going to be offering free classes to small Black business owners. So you can go to Credit Medics, and that's CreditMedics101, creditmedics101.com for all of our services. And you can find me on Instagram at creditmedics101. And you can find me on Instagram. My personal page is at Maserati Niche, and that's MASERATINEESH. And I thank you so much for having me. Thank you for sharing your platform with me. Peace and blessings to everyone listening. I'm loving on y'all.
Okay, I'm loving on you too. Thank you for coming on the show. She's amazing. She's at the top of the food chain with Money Making Conversations. So we're gonna be hearing from her again, and especially when you get that software done right and be able to franchise it, bring it to Rhonesha McDonald so I can sell it to my people first and put the word out about it, because I believe in you, because you're a real talker and you don't try to sell false hopes. And that's important in today in pandemic, when we're being overtly affected by the virus, being overtly affected by the financial crisis that is creating in our household. We need information to overcome those obstacles. And my friend, Miss Howerton, she provides it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. If you want to hear more Money Making Conversation interviews, please go to moneymakingconversation.com. I'm Rhonesha McDonald. I'm your host.